Hi, this is Phil Parrish from the Capes and Lunatics podcast, a proud member of the collective, and you're listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners. This is Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. You are listening to episode 77 tonight, and we are returning to our LUNAR-PICK modern reviews. We have a very cool, kind of like trodden on familiar ground here with Warren Ellis's and Declan Shalvey's Moon Knight Volume 7, Issue 5. Previously, we had an awesome discussion with Josh Geronimo Johnson on it, but the two high priests have returned tonight to discuss it yet again. I am one of your high priests, Ray, and with me is High Priest Khonshu. How are you?
Hello. I am doing bloody fantastically. You know, we're getting into the holiday part of the year. I've nearly finished work for the year. Reading some comics, saw a movie this weekend. We got trailers coming out, we got announcements happening. Not everything's Moon Knight related, sadly, but it's a pretty good time.
Oh, of course. Yeah, the movies as well. Let's kick off with that. I mean, so, did you watch a few movies, or is it just the one that I'm thinking of?
Just the one, but twice.
Awesome. So, let the Looney listeners know what you saw.
So I got to see two different preview screenings of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse that have been around for like everyone, if your cinema could sing it. But yeah, swing it. A bit of a Spider-Man reference without knowing. And I dove into that twice, and honestly, it was just one of my favourite superhero movies ever, maybe one of my favourite movies of all time. You know, it's just got such heart, such incredible animation, this balance of, you know, humour and drama, and the emotional connections just hit. There's great tragedy, there's great comedy, you know, the action's out of this world, it's super funny. Love all the characters, feels ripped straight out of the comics, so, you know.
That's great.
Just love it.
Oh, it's probably a bit unfair for me to do this to you, Khonshu, but this year we also did get, obviously, the Avengers Infinity War, which is at the top of my list, I'd guess. How does it compare with that?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're such different beasts, and Infinity War represents something massive within the universe, but just the way this connects with the comics and just as a movie itself, I'd be willing to say it tops Infinity War for me.
Ooh, that's a good call. That's encouraging. I mean, I've heard only good things about Into the Spider-Verse. That's right, isn't it? Yeah, Into. Yeah. Definitely want to catch it myself. I'm just going to somehow find some time. But you've watched it twice. Are you going to watch it again?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Why not? And this is it. This is great. I mean, this is supporting, obviously, a film that, you know, deserves a lot of support, and this is exactly what they want. They want people to come over and see it, maybe see it again, which you've done, and all that can mean for us is potential sequels. Well, they've already announced, haven't they, that there are kind of like offshoots.
Yeah, 2 different sequels.
So they've already announced the sequel? Have they announced? I know that.
So we got a sequel to Spider-Verse coming out, but then you've got an all-female Spider women-focused movie as well, swinging out the side as well.
Well, that'd be great. I'm imagining, though, in the Into the Spider-Verse, they featured a fair few of the characters that you'd see in the all-female version, right? I mean, there is just so many to choose from.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got, I think, 6 different Spider-Man in this movie, and there's 50,000 at this point, probably 20, 30 well-known ones, so they got a big call.
Yeah, fantastic.
And yeah, it's just a proper love letter to Spider-Man. Like, it's so rewarding as a Spider-Man fan, and if we could get something this Moon Knight related, we couldn't ask for more, honestly.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I mean, we've seen Moon Knight a few times in the animated version or incarnation of himself. I think my favourite one so far has been the one in the Secret Wars Avengers one that we covered. Yeah, which was, I don't know, it was about a year ago, I think. That was pretty good. But yeah, if it raises the bar, if it's anything like what I hear Into the Spider-Verse is, then, then we're in for a treat. Well, I think that would probably assuage a lot of us, wouldn't it? I mean, you know how the recent disappointment of Netflix cancelling all those shows, how would you feel like if instead of that we did get an animated movie with Moon Knight?
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of good stuff popping up. I mean, we have the animated movie, definitely. I love animation. I think it works so there with a pulpy vibe there. But, we also got Shang-Chi coming to the MCU as well, so I think we're doing well for speculation, at least. Like, there are a lot of good avenues if they're willing past the now sadly gone Netflix universe.
There was I did like it though. I think one of the loonies put up on the group page that Moon Knight issue with Shang-Chi. Right after when the Shang-Chi announcement came. I thought that was very optimistic. Look, I would obviously love that as well. But for Moon Knight to get his foot in any door, I think would be great so far. But I think animated would be a really good way to go. I've got a bit of not a bad taste, but a little put off at this whole Netflix thing. Just because, like, even now, like with Jessica Jones coming up and Punisher, it's just there's just going to be a weird vibe about it, when watching those seasons, because most likely, that they're going to be cancelled. So it's just going to tarnish, I think, the seasons to come.
Oh yeah, it's like looking at something already dead.
Yeah, exactly. Flogging a dead horse. Yeah, so you've been catching that. Anything else been happening in the last week, Connor, as well, other than catching top-tier movies?
Hold on. Well, I mean, we'll just talk about a bit. We had a pretty exciting announcement, admittedly, that I think we'll crack onto in a sec, but it was a pretty good week for comics this week. I think Marvel smashed it out of the park. We got Best Defense Hulk and Namor. We got Immortal Hulk.
Yeah.
We got Venom. We got Marvel Knights. But there's a lot of great stuff flying around the woodwork. You got one of my favourite books of the year, Submerged. Got got released in trade paperback. Winter Soldier as well. Great first issue. West Coast Avengers.
Winter Soldier, was that with Rod Reyes?
Yep, and Carl Higgins. Awesome. Fantastic issue.
Okay, lovely. So how are you going with your pile, Connor?
Yeah, well, look, I kind of read through this week's comics, and haven't touched the backlog, but I got 2 weeks off, so I'm hoping to get rid of my desk clutter then.
Yeah. Look, I am so behind as well. So all those titles that you mentioned are tantalising. They're just sitting at King's, my local comic book store, just waiting for me to pick up in my standing order. I've made a pledge. I was going to go today, this weekend. That didn't happen, sadly. So this coming Friday, actually, last day of work. Can't wait. There's going to be a Christmas party.
Ooh, exciting.
And then after that, I think I might head into the city and just quickly pick up. I think it would be like I'm about 3 or 4 weeks behind. So just going to pick up all that stuff, plus the Black Friday, was it the Black Friday sales that they had a while ago? I made a few purchases there, so I've got a whole lot to pick up from King, so I'm looking forward to getting there and actually catching up with some of the books. I've read a few here and there, but I mean, when I say them, they're like, again, 3 or 4 weeks old. So what was it that I've read recently? I read, I think, Amazing Spider-Man 9, which I think they're up to 10 or 11 or something, or 10 maybe, which was really good. I'm really loving the Nick Spencer run. I'm looking forward to Best Defense. I've got that in my pile, and Immortal Hulk and all that. But yeah, actually a couple of Superman comics, which I have got as a bit of homework for the other podcast, which I'm doing the other corner. So that's keeping me busy as well. But I wanted to say as well, yeah, I've got Eve's parents over from the Netherlands, so that's very exciting. Spending as much time as I can with them while they're here. So obviously, yeah, that leaves little time for reading, but you know, it's not a bad thing at all. They're so much fun to have. Yeah, so that's what's been happening the last week for me. But sounds like you've got a nice batch of comics to read up ahead, Connor.
Yeah, I mean, including this week, I just want to drop a few more names. You got Die One and Snot Girl from Image Comics.
Oh yes.
You got the end of Ninja K, Lodger from Black Crown.
Oh, is
Martian Manhunter?
Is that the end of Ninja K?
Yeah, final issue.
That's a weird one. Is it issue 14, isn't it? That's a weird...
Yeah.
Okay. Similar to the Lemire run.
Yeah, I think Gage is...
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah. It was a really abrupt end, and I think Gage is leaving to pursue television.
Yeah.
After the changes at Valiant.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Sorry, you were saying other than that as well. Oh, Martian Manhunter. I saw... I saw that number one.
Yeah, Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
Yep, new one from DC. That was really good. And, what more can I say? Was
it Shazam?
Moth and Whisper.
Shazam as well?
Oh, yeah, Shazam was a pretty good introduction to a character I've only read like a tiny bit of.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, lovely. Well, yeah, we've got our work cut out for us as well, don't we? Also, look, you know, just to tell you a bit of dramas as well. Made a purchase for some really nice trades over on Facebook as well. They seem to be lost in the mail somewhere, which is highly annoying. Fingers crossed they turn up this week, but a bit of a gut wrench there because I got a few Namor and a few Hercules trades, which I've been searching high and low for, and I found them finally, but they seem to be lost in the post. So hopefully that will come through as well. Anyway, Looney, sorry, I don't know why you have to hear that. Just thought I'd share. Look, also, so getting to the issue that we're going to cover, Khonshu, and as mentioned at the top of the show, we have actually technically covered this before. So Josh Geronimo Johnson, one of our valued loonies, he has hosted and co-hosted a fair few episodes of Into the Night in his Isla Ra sessions back in episode 51. I sat down with him and I went through his comics, and one of them was Moon Knight Volume 7 Issue 5, which is this very one. It wasn't just one of the four. It was, I think, in the top two. I can't remember. It may have been... it may have been, I think, number one on his pile. So, pretty high regards for this issue, Connor. But we thought it would be fun anyway to revisit this because I'm interested to get your thoughts, Connor, on this. It seems to be well acclaimed by everyone, but it would be interesting to see what you make of this little ditty.
Yeah, I'm very excited to crack into it. I've got some things to say. You know, it's probably one of the single most beloved issues of all time.
Yeah, for sure. Before that as well, just a few other things I thought we might cover. There are a couple of things. Obviously, the big one, Avengers. It's been released now. The subtitle Endgame Avengers 4 has been the trailer has been released. A few people have speculated that it would be called Endgame, and they were right, it seems. Which kind of makes sense, doesn't it, Connor? I mean, they did mention that term a few times in the movies, in the lead-up. I mean, most notably by Doctor Strange in Infinity War, you know, saying it's the Endgame, something like that.
But a very powerful little trailer. That's also great if you're avoiding spoilers. I think you can watch that one because, you know, it doesn't really reveal anything, just gets you real emotional for the next big one.
Yeah, oh gosh, a lot of people are not looking forward to it, but kind of are in a way, and I know exactly what they mean. It's been a massive ride since 2008. Look, no one wants to see it end. It does have to reach some sort of closure, some sort of conclusion. And, you know, there's life after it as well. let's not forget that the characters being weaned at the moment, I believe, of Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and Captain Marvel to potentially take the franchise onwards and upwards. So, however it is beyond Endgame, I'm sure there'll be a few surprises in store. We've still got the X-Men and Fantastic Four to turn up. That's going to be a boon.
Oh, yeah. God, yeah, you got to wonder what they're doing.
Yeah, it's absolutely. Also, as well, this is probably in your wheelhouse, Connor, so you can probably talk more of it. I'm not much of a gamer myself. I know a lot of loonies are, but apparently Marvel Ultimate Alliance number 3 has been announced.
Yeah, biggest announcement after, both Sony and Microsoft saying they'd never publish the game due to low sales. Nintendo picks it up for their own system to drop a cool little sequel with the third one, which is super exciting. It's got some movie-based villains, but it's also one of the first times we've seen X-Men in a Marvel video game since they've been fighting with Fox for all these years. So that's super exciting, especially after the mess with Marvel vs. Capcom. But, not only is that exciting, but Ultimate Alliance also the only video games to feature Moon Knight in them. And, his popularity has only grown and grown in the last few years. So we can only hope he pops in that one with an even more refined moveset. So keep an eye on that if you love... Well, we know a lot of people love those games, but if you love Moon Knight, it's there.
Absolutely, and I have forecast a lot of our episodes into 2019, being ever excited about all this and looking at the phases of the moon, and we do have a couple of video game reviews, or the avatars of vengeance, as I like to call it. So that will be fun. I'm not sure when Ultimate Alliance 3 will come out, Connor, but we can certainly look at Moon Knight's appearance in some of the other games, and that'll be a fun thing to do. We haven't done a video game review before, and I also thought as well, kind of, Moon Knight has appeared in Marvel Lego's Avengers, technically, as well.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it was pretty... I searched for him and I got him. His power set and abilities are pretty meh. He can only throw crescent darts, and he's got he's got a bow, I think. Not truncheons. Or maybe he has truncheons. Yeah, but nothing to really write home about there, other than the fact that you can be Moon Knight in the Legos Avengers. But yeah, Ultimate Alliance should be pretty fun. Is that's something that you'll probably be purchasing, Connor?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah? Awesome.
100%. Well, it might be shit, but, hopefully not.
And finally, look, I just wanted to congratulate. I know it's coming up soon. I saw a tweet from our friends, fellow collective members. We have a Hulk. So I'd just like to give them a shout out.
Whoa!
Yeah. Well done, guys. They are coming up towards their 100th episode. So I think they were trying to canvass an interview with Donny Cates. Let's hope they make that happen. They have interviewed a spate of really, really cool celebrities. I think it's definitely within their range. So, keep an eye out for We Have a Hulk podcast. I'll put it in the show notes. I just want to give a plug to our fellow collective member. All right, well, Khonshu, I think, unless there's anything else, is there anything else, I don't know, you want to cover in the world of comics before we get into it?
No, I think that about covers it. It's not a bad little week for comics, I think.
Yeah, like you said, no real Moon Knight news, but, we've come to expect that. So whenever it does hit, it will be a glorious day, I'm sure. Look, why don't we just go to a quick ad break, and we'll be right back for our LUNAR-PICK review.
Hi, this is Chris.
And this is Brian.
And we are the hosts of Inner Demons, the Ghost Rider podcast.
And you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and other podcast apps for all your Ghost Rider needs.
Right on.
Welcome back, Looney listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast, and I am here, your High Priest of Khonshu, Ray, with High Priest of Khonshu, Connor, and we are going to review a modern run, and very much loved and known by many Loonies. It's by Warren Ellis, Declan Shalvey. It is Moon Knight Volume 7, Issue 5. It's titled Scarlet. So, before we get into it, Connor, and before I kindly ask you, the availability of it and the credits, for listeners that haven't listened to us before, what we usually do when we do a LUNAR-PICK is we do a sliver, which is a very truncated, a very short synopsis, basically gaining the essence of the story, and in a couple of sentences we try and sum it all up. And then Connor and I just have a free discussion of just good points here and there, what we liked, what we didn't like, certain, ties or certain references. We talk about the art, the writing, the colouring, anything. We just we pick apart the issue, and then that's capped off with a Moon rating, and it's our highly infamous convoluted Moon rating. So that could be anything from a new moon to a half moon, a full moon. We do have a very special blue moon reserved only. It's like a Blue Label whiskey, Connor. Only available for those issues that really make its mark. So let's get into it. Khonshu, with this highly popular issue, where can Loonies find it to give it a read?
Lovingly available everywhere. So you got it on Comixology, Kindle, either in issue or trade. It's on Marvel Unlimited. The trade is called Moon Knight from the Dead. That will be definitely stocked in all comic stores. Still widely available in print. I think the issues still definitely cost a bit more with years, but I think you can still pick up a decent copy of this in physical, like the issue itself, by not searching too hard, so that's pretty good as well. But yeah, basically anywhere you buy your comics, this will be there, whether in trade or issue.
Yes, and I just realised I forgot to. I usually try and find either variant covers or second or third printings. I did not follow up on that. I'm not sure if it would have made a second printing, Connor. What do you reckon? Maybe it did. I know the first and second issues usually do, but this is well into it. This is issue 5 already. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, the second last issue of the run.
So anyway, I might have a little look up there, and I'll put it in the show notes again, just in case you can't afford the first printing, if it's out. And so, Connor, as mentioned, we are looking at Volume 7, Issue 5, Scarlet. Can you please let us know the credits?
All right, so this one dropped in 2014. It was written by Warren Ellis, drawn by Declan Shalvey, coloured by Jordie Bellaire. Chris Eliopoulos jumped on the lettering. Editors Ellie, Pyle and Lowe. Mm-hmm. And Declan and Jordie on the cover as well. Yeah,
a very beautiful cover as well. All right, now for the sliver. I don't know, Connor. I'm happy. Do you want to give it a go? I'm happy to give it a go. Either way,
I can jump on this one. It's pretty simple.
Yep.
Big old Mooney has found out that a young girl was kidnapped from, I believe, straight outside of her school. Her name is Scarlet, and has been kidnapped by this gang for some sort of reason, and he's taken to their hideout to beat the crap out of them all and rescue her.
Pretty much. That's a very, very well told summation of the issue. Very simple and very typical of, as we've seen, Warren Ellis's other issues, where the premise is pretty straightforward. I mean, you can't go wrong with much of it. And I think the beauty of Warren Ellis's writing is not in the intricacy of the actual plot, but in, I think, the dialogue. I think he most probably had input with Declan Shalvey on the layouts and how things are looking, because it's got a very particular look, very cinematic, and also I guess how things are fleshed out in the very simple plot. So Previously, we saw, if we're looking at issue 4, when Mr. Knight went into a dream state and started hallucinating. You look at all that kind of really trippy stuff. That was a lot of fun stuff. Here, I think you get a lot of the meat of Moon Knight. Basically, I can see it like on a piece of paper described in one line, just Moon Knight fighting his way up a tenement. That's basically, isn't it? But it's the fun of it comes from how he does that. And we get a lot of different ways to showcase Mr. Knight's, I guess, fighting ability and how deadly he is.
Yeah, so I think, where should we start? Do we want to dive into the art first, or?
Yeah, let's go into the art. The art's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll dive to say we're going to talk about this, but I don't think we'll talk about the intricacies quite as well as Strip Panel Naked's YouTube video on this issue, which we'll link below if you really want to get into the intricacies of how the art really works and the way the panels and the direction of the issue works, just the nitty-gritty details of how great this issue is. We'll link that below if you haven't already seen that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is actually, that will do it justice. I mean, we can't describe it well enough as that YouTube video of Strip Panel Naked. A really, really good series. There's also other ones. This one's obviously showcasing Declan, Shalvey and Ellis's layouts, but I saw other ones with Mark Waid and Chris Sumney and Black Widow, and the level of thought that goes into how to manipulate the reader's eyes and direction and all that sort of stuff is really fascinating stuff. So if you can, check out this YouTube clip on Strip Panel Naked, and as Connor says, we'll put a link to it. Really good stuff. But but art wise, Connor, any shining moments here for you?
Well, I think. All right, so I think we got to talk about how cinematic this whole thing is. Just immediately from the get go. Just, of course, the great way they present the credits of the Marvel Entertainment Presents. You got this great build-up of Moon Knight threatening them before getting geared up to go inside. You got the picture of the girl, and then the giant shot of the floors, and then bam, it just goes off from there.
Yeah.
What a great way to introduce an issue. Like, there's, like, Warren Ellis and his artists, no one does, cinematically, comics cinematically like them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just really great stuff. And there's that one, I mean, I've mentioned it before, I think with Josh, there's that first splash page after the cinematic kind of credits and prologue, and there's just the back of Mr. Knight, and you get kind of like a ground level perspective from behind, and as he looks up into the tenement, which is like a huge atrium space with, I guess, perimeter apartments, off balconies. Really, really great colours from Jordie Bellaire as well. And a really good highlight, again, of the use of white. I know that sounds very, not exciting, but when Jordie Bellaire colours everything else and when Mr. Knight is left just in black and white, he really does stand out.
No one does white like her. I think
there's
an incredible scene very early on where you just see him holding the truncheon from like a low angle, looking up. Mm-hmm. It's just him holding the truncheon facing someone. The way the white focuses on that truncheon is just incredible.
It does. It looks almost glowing, doesn't it? It's so clean and crisp, and I love how it's contrasted with, and you get it with the graphic violence of this here, about how organic splatter the blood. So Jordie Bellaire does it whenever Mr. Knight throws a crescent dart or he whacks someone with a truncheon or a baseball bat, and you get this splash of blood coming off the person. It's very organic, as opposed to the clean lines and the glowing white, I guess, of Mr. Knight.
Oh, totally. And there's so many browns and deep blacks that it just sticks out. Yeah. Like nothing else.
Yeah. Also, as well, I do love, if we're sticking to the art, I love how, and again, Declan Shalvey has done this in previous ones, how every now and again he will, I wouldn't say overload, but he will really add a lot of detail stuff. And it really does have a strong effect. So the one I'm looking at is when Mr. Knight has a cracked truncheon, and then he decides to shoot the grappling hook anyway, but since it's cracked, it just splinters and bursts into a million pieces. And there's that sort of thing, and again, similar to issue 4, where he breaks down the door, and the door just like fragments into hundreds and hundreds of pieces. It has just a really good effect, and it reminds me cinematically of, you know, when you get the ultra slow-mo of something, you know, whatever it is in an action piece, and you get to see every little bit like hang in the air. That's the sense that I get here as well, and it's I don't know, it just adds a real pop, a real wow factor to the art.
Yeah, and speaking of things, yeah, the scene where he just smashes that guy's head in with the door, it is just incredibly brutal.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh. Yeah, so I think with the art, the way the art works basically is the way he positions hand movements, bodies, and weapons naturally directs your eyes down the page.
Yep.
And you don't notice it, but we'll show you that video and it just explains it in such depth. It's just a brilliant way, because you can read through this in like just a few minutes, but that works so well just because how simple it is just to follow that easily, follow every swing, take in every bit of this incredible art. And I think not only is that brilliant, but it's the way it did this with so many different types of it, like fight scenes. You know, you got truncheons, you got stabbing people with the crescent darts. You got one of my favorites, grabbing his jacket, swinging around someone's head, throwing them off the stairs. That's an absolute favourite. The way the simple things in panels that doesn't overclog them, just, you know, the direction of a line on the page shows him breaking someone's arm. You know, like a swift kick to the neck or stuff. It just shows the skill of Moon Knight and so many different types of skill that he has. You know, all the different types of fighting styles he have. Everything he's learnt.
Yeah.
So, you know, full on.
Yeah, it's great, and it's just so inventive. You can see he's kind of he's kind of improvising a lot of the stuff as well, which I really love to see. So, as you say, he's got a very mean, awesome fighting style. He's very brutal, but there's that bit where he comes across that really big tattooed guy. And he's a big guy, right? And at first he grabs Moon Knight by the head and he lifts him up, you know, very kind of tropey of action films. And so you see a shot of his legs dangling in the air. So he's hanging by his head, basically, Mr. Knight. But what he does, he digs some crescent darts into the guy, but then he takes off his jacket and wraps it around the guy's face to disorient him, and then he pulls him with it out and across the balcony, through the balustrade, and down into the lower grounds below. So, you know, he will do anything. He will use anything to win the fight. And this is very different from, say, I don't know, your Daredevil or your Spider-Man. You know, he's just very down and dirty, which is really good.
So yeah, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump onto my next point, and is that why this issue works so much. You know, it's not just a brilliant action piece, which it is. You know, Ellis does this in so many of his books. He's smashing out the park at the moment with Cemetery Beach, a fantastic action book. His recent James Bond with Jason Masters, I believe it is, just amazing action. But this one as well, not only is it a great action piece, but it captures so many little bits about Moon Knight that make this whole run fantastic. I'll start again from the start. One of my favourite things about this is the way it dives into one of my favourite things about Moon Knight that sometimes doesn't pop up enough, that, you know, his heroic actions are dictated by this protecting the travellers of the night. You know, the way he explains why he's doing this, you know, what it is about taking this girl and all this stuff, it just rings to the part of Moon Knight I love so much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
look, also as well, if you even go further to that, with what is synonymous with Moon Knight, the very last page as well is utterly kind of confronting. I'm just going to jump straight to it, and he's basically talking to a corpse. Like, the guy gets squashed by the moon jet or the moon glider, and he's just a bloodied mess at the top of this roof. And Mr. Knight comes over, and he basically is talking to the guy. The guy's, I'm sure, dead. And he goes, listen, where are you going? Tell your friends. Tell everyone you meet. Tell them all when you see me coming. And then it pans to an ultra close-up of him. Then it fades to black, and he just ends with run. So he is quite a terrifying character as well. And he is not only a protector of the night travellers, but he is someone that he wants the criminals to see him coming, and he relishes this conflict that he has with them. So, really, really good stuff. Really, I really love the way that Ellis depicts Mr. Knight here. Very different from, if we look at the latest run with Max Bemis, and there are parallels as well. They're kind of like with the action scenes. So we spoke with Jason Burrows, and there are some glorious action scenes in the Bemis and Burrows run where you see multiple versions of Moon Knight across a double page splash page, fighting on the ship or what have you. Really fantastic. And Jason Burrows did say that he was conscious of like body movements and reflecting that in the panel layout, so you get that kind of visceral sense of Moon Knight kicking or punching. So I think they take a bit of a leaf from this awesome issue. This issue and the Ellis run in general, this is just a masterclass, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think this speaks to what a lot of people love about the character as well. It's this heroic action, but he is just exceedingly more violent than any other hero. And, that's what people love. It's got that bit of an edge, but when Ellis does it, it's got that great bit of comedy. Yeah. You've got the iconic, holding the chin, going nice in this scene, in this comic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, the...
Sorry, I was about to say, it's a very different humour, isn't it, from Bemis? Which Ellis is not really known for his humour, is he? But he does put a bit in there. He uses it a lot more sparingly than Max Bemis, say, who will, in some issues, just kind of throw a lot of humour at the reader through Mark Spector and the identities. But Ellis's is a lot more, I guess, chosen in particular.
Yeah, and I think also Ellis is pretty good at comedy. He's just got a very got that wonderful dry British sense of humour. That Transmetropolitan, and a lot of other comics like that capture that kind of and he does it like a lot more subtly than Bemis did, which isn't like a comment on the quality. It's more the way the comedy is presented itself. So. Yeah. And it definitely works a lot in this kind of action issue,
Yeah, for sure. What was I going to... Oh, yeah, the other thing I was going to mention was, obviously, we're talking about how Moon Knight is quite violent and, quite, you can obviously as well make the parallels with the Punisher, but I think the big difference with the Punisher is... he's got a lot more firearms and stuff, and he does a lot of stuff, not all the time, because he does get up close and personal every now and again, but, you'd see him taking out someone from a slight distance, sniping, or basically just with guns, or bombs and such. Moon Knight he's kind of like the version of Daredevil, but he has a sensibility of the Punisher. So he doesn't use guns at all, although we saw that in Vengeance of the Moon Knight, but he has that violent streak, and he has that drive to do whatever it takes to bring justice and vengeance, to satiate Khonshu, more or less.
Yeah, and just, I guess, and that's what's so perfect about the protecting the travelers of the night, but at the start it just centralizes that character so immediately for what's going to come next in just, one panel, one speech bubble.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. And I guess the big thing here that's been set up over the course of this run is, the fear that Moon Knight's really trying to instill fear,
Absolutely.
The way he drags the club, the way he wears white, and, the whole point at the end of this issue.
Yeah.
As he saves the girl, but it's also one big message to everyone else in the city of who Moon Knight is, and what he'll do.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and it is something that has to be kind of highlight as well, I forgot about it, but you're right, he does drag that baseball bat with blood across the wall as he walks, kind of almost arrogantly, but it is to strike fear to those. At the end, the criminal that is holding that schoolgirl, or that girl, he actually talks the guy out of killing her, and basically he talks the guy into giving Mr. Knight his gun, because he basically strikes fear in him. He says, look, if you kill the girl, that's kind of an expected outcome, but have you ever thought of what happened to you after that? Are you prepared to die? Because if you kill that girl, I will kill you. And he's saying this while he's holding a bloodied bat as well. So if I was in that guy's shoes, speaking to this madman, you'd be pretty much scared you'd be frozen. You'd be like a deer in headlights.
Yeah, and I guess, does it well. One Batman's reference per episode maybe does it even a bit better. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, look, and taking that further as well, like I said, towards the end, again, even to a dead, bloodied corpse, he is still trying to strike fear. He's sending a message. He's telling this bag of blood and bones that, I'm coming for all the criminals. Anyone that sees me, tell them to run, because I'm here to mete out vengeance. So it's all about fear in this issue, and it's really, really well done. A lot of the issue is caught up with all these different ways and to show off the prowess of Mr. Knight's fighting skills, which is so much fun, and it is very actiony, and it's just really fun to read. But that message of the fear. Really, really good stuff from Ellis. And so that also touches upon, Connor, as well, that there's been talk as well of the schoolgirl, and she says something that I think was, I don't know if it's profound, but she actually says something that really does make Mr. Knight, it elevates him above just like a person in a mask. He seems to almost have this, I don't know, mythology about him, or he's something supernatural or out of, otherworldly.
No, I was just, it's just another, little thing, like, another little tiny bit of character in a very action-focused issue that takes up, the entirety of its pages. Like the Traveler's Night, it's just one comment that comments on the nature of Moon Knight's illness, but also his identities and what they represent as a crime fighter, as a vigilante.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when she realized that the mask, it's a face, because Mr. Knight is that separate personality, that separate identity, that separate ideology within all the different parts of Mark Spector. So
Yeah, it's just a weird thing for a girl to say from it. I don't know. It's good. It's very effective. It's just, I don't know. My logical part of my brain is trying to figure out, why did she say that? How's it all, how does it all tie up? Is she a little crazy herself? I don't know, but it's just a really cool. It's one of those really cool moments, I guess, with it. And he just, he smiles through his mask and just says, "Smart kid." Again, just a little bit of, just a little bit of humor there as well. But yeah, really, really good stuff. Any other big points here, Connor, that you wanna raise? Yeah.
I'm just looking through it. I think we did cover most of it. We've had a few talks about this on the episode, on this podcast, and linked that great strip panel naked comment. But yeah, just the color, the art, the tiny bits of character, it just all works together for one. There's a reason. This is like one of the single most celebrated issues in the entirety of Moon Knight's history, and even within Marvel's recent history as well. Ellis, Shalvey, Bellaire, Eliopoulos all bring that forefront, all bring their A game to the forefront, and it's shown with a legacy within articles and talks about the best of superhero comics. This issue will pop up, of recent years.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think before we get into our Moon Knight ratings, Connor, let's have a bit of fun here. Out of all the encounters that Mr. Knight comes up against in the issue to get up to the little girl, what was your favourite one?
Sorry, what was that?
Out of all the encounters that Mr. Knight has in going up the flights of stairs to get to the girl at the end, what is your favourite one that he does? Or what is your favourite encounter that he has?
Nah, easily my favourite. Whatever page it is, fighting the big guy, swinging off his coat, just grabbing him by the head and just doing an absolutely sick swing over the edge. I love it.
Yeah, that is very spick. That is very quick thinking, improvised. I love it as well. That's really good. Look, my favourite is, I've got it here as well. Digital copy. I'm reading the trade. It's somewhere in the middle there. Mr. Knight. This guy is walking down the stairs. And Mr. Knight grabs Crescent Dart and he throws it at the guy's foot, and it actually lodges his foot onto the stair. But his momentum carries him forward, and he just hits the ground face first. But to me, that is just so sick because his foot would have been stuck there, so his ankle would have been would have popped as he fell down because his foot was stuck by that Crescent Dart. Just a lot of kind of really. Gloriously macabre ways to neutralise someone, but yeah, that would probably have to be it for me. Yeah. Do we want to give this a moon rating now, kind of before we go into our moony missives?
I think so. I think we'll crack into it. I've been thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to crack it out. First time on the show, this won't bring any surprise to anyone. I think many people would agree, but, I could read this issue so many times without ever getting bored. It's definitely the big old blue moon from me.
Cracking out the blue moon. Fantastic.
Yeah,
the blue moon. So that is a very rare moon, loonies, and that is reserved only for the very best. And Connor, you beat me to the proverbial white-knuckled gloved punch there. I am willing to give this a blue moon as well. So, in our convoluted rating system, a blue moon is anywhere between 11 to 20 out of 10. Even further, you can take it as much as you want, but blue moons all round. Excellent. So, loonies, that gives you a bit of an idea of how good an issue this is, at least in our eyes. But let's not stop there. We have a bit of feedback, Khonshu, from some of the loonies on our Facebook group who responded to the discussion thread, which we threw up there just prior to the episode. Have you got the sheet up there?
I could dive into the first one. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We got some lovely fans here dropping in. Some of our regulars you can find over the group, facebook.com/group/ITK Moon Knight. Find these people and the threads we talk about. We have to talk about on the show. Some more links later in the episode. But Midkind, I believe Midkin. I totally forget. Man, sorry, we love you here. But he says, "Oh boy, that this was a hell of a fun issue, resembling the pacing and theme of certain action movies. MK showing up and beating everyone he sees was freaking delightful, with the various ways he takes them down, some more unfortunate than others. The flow of the panels are smooth and really captured Mooney's simple yet precise movement as he goes up the complex. Oh, and the kid's dialogue, plus the last guy's death, is, at the end, brilliant. It's one of the most enjoyable issues that I can read again and again, and it's a goldmine for memes, so this makes it 10 out of 5.
So that has got to definitely be a blue moon from Midkind. Thank you, good sir. It goes to show that Connor and I aren't alone in our thoughts here, but totally agree with everything that you say there. It's a bit weird seeing or reading someone say, the guy's death at the end, brilliant. But unless you know the issue, you can totally understand where Midkind's coming from. And I'd have to say, I believe both of us, we wholeheartedly agree as well. Certainly love the guy's death at the end there as well, the bloodied mess. We have another bit of feedback from one of our valued loonies, Noel Tate. A little shout out again. Noel is the lead singer and guitarist of Delita, the band, and Delita have provided the music for Into the Night. So all the music that you hear on Into the Night is courtesy of Noel and Delita. Noel says, this is close, if not a perfect comic as far as portraying action in sequential art. Declan Shalvey's panel layouts and pencils are no less than cinematic. Almost seems that a few people at Marvel Netflix were paying attention to this for the hallway scene in Season 1 of Daredevil. Yeah, far out. Favourite panel is Mr. Knight kicking the goon in the stomach and the goon puking. The team really makes Moon Knight seem terrifying. Favourite line of dialogue is Scarlet saying, "It's not a mask, it's your face." Brilliant work by Ellis. Classic Moon Knight and classic comics. Actually, Connor, that's reminded me, the little girl is called Scarlet. Are we to believe this is an iteration of Stained Glass Scarlet? Is this why she has this almost psychic connection with Moon Knight? Hence her saying, "It's not a mask, it's your face." I did not pick that up first.
I wouldn't know. I think that's maybe something to follow. Maybe we can ask Ellis one day.
Like, it's a stretch because obviously she's not fully grown, but she's got the red hair. It might be Warren Ellis's take on the character. Yeah, you never know.
That's an interesting thought, though. Follow up, hit us up, Loonies, if you agree what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Give Ray the thinking he needs.
Yeah, we have another one here, Connor.
Oh, yeah, we got a lovely Mr. Josh Johnson dropping in with Into the Night, episode 51. I mean, he says, referring to the episode he was on, so definitely check that one out. That's a great episode with his thoughts.
He's even got the timestamp there.
But he also says, but in all seriousness, it's the perfect one-shot story. Moon Knight needs to fight up 5 floors of thugs to save the little girl. Simple, but epic. Shalvey's art is superb, the action's amazing and brutal, and we get to see just how skilled Mr. Knight can be. Definitely deserving of the ultra-rare Blue Moon.
Woohoo! Crack out the Blue Moon. We have another one. Connor, there's 4 Blue Moons already. What's going on?
Mate, it's not done there. We're not crazy. We've got people backing us up. So I'll leave it to you to finish off the last one.
Yes, and from one of the show's favourites, sons, Rick Ball, the Rick Ball special. Rick weighs in on issue 5 and he says, fantastic one-shot, basically reminded me of the Raid Redemption featuring our boy Mooney. The last page alone shows that Moon Knight is a 100% unfiltered badass. 5 out of 5. So Rick, I'm not sure if Rick knows of the Blue Moon, but he has given a full moon, which is obviously no slouch as well. He's given it full marks. So thank you, Rick. Thank you for your feedback. Totally see that connection with the Raid as well. Although I haven't seen the movie, I've heard of it. To me, it reminded me of Carl Urban's Judge Dredd, which I believe was lifted off the Raid as well. So, so many connections there. But absolutely, that last page with Moon Knight talking to that corpse, just absolutely crazy, yet absolutely frightening at the same time. So, that's... Thank you, Loonies, for that feedback. That was really good. It just goes to show, Khonshu. Actually, Loonies, I'd like to see any Loonies out there that did not like this issue. I'd be really keen to hear from you. Not to say that, we know what's best and we all believe that it is the best issue ever made of Moon Knight, but everyone does seem to enjoy it. So I'd really like to hear other inputs. If you didn't really like it, why not? What didn't do it for you? Just write in or drop a line in the Facebook group or page if you can.
Yeah, so like I said, we're not crazy. The proof's in the bunch of other people on the internet, so,
Yeah. Excellent.
Pretty damn good.
Yeah, well, before we go as well, just a quick spectacle. Once again, a big shout out to We Have a Hulk podcast on their upcoming 100th episode. Best of luck, guys. Hope you knock it out of the park. I know you will. Check it out. we'll have the link to their website, which will lead you to all their podcast episodes. And also, as well as Connor mentioned, we'll put a link in the show notes for, again, Strip Panel Naked. It's a really good YouTube series. And if you love Moon Knight, you must check this out. Declan Shalvey, a master of his craft, and it gets explained to you why he is such. As for next phase, Khonshu, what have we got?
What have we got? We've got a fantastic little episode. We see the return of our man on the street, Tommy himself, jumping in for my second look into Mark Spector Moon Knight for the Scarlet Redemption trade arc. That's issues 26 to 31. We'll be diving into that. Red Hot Crack for the first time for me into a series I've not read much of. It's super exciting. We've got a whole 3 more episodes left of the year. We got that one.
Yep.
Maybe thinking of a Christmas special and then a year in review, and that'll tie us up nicely for the year.
Yeah. It'll be very exciting. I'll be keen to get your thoughts, Connor, on it. It's very different. Don't worry. It's nothing like the Infinity Crusade or the Infinity War issues of Mark Spector Moon Knight, which we reviewed in anticipation for Avengers Infinity War. It is a very different J.M. DeMatteis. Very good. Comic readers will know him from Craven's, Last Hunt? With Spider-Man.
Yes.
Very well-seasoned writer. The writing is a little out of left field, but I mean that in a very good way. It's not your typical, first, second, third act or what have you. Very, very cool, and it suits this relationship that you get between Moon Knight and Stained Glass Scarlet, which is, funnily enough, kind of links towards this review of issue 5 titled Scarlet as well. So join us next week, Loonies, if you can. That should be a cracker. Those issues are a bit hard to come by, but if you can find them somewhere, dig them out. It's definitely worth a read. So 6 issues, I believe, 26 to 31. That marks the end of this episode, Loonies. Thank you so much for joining us. As usual, you can find us on email. Drop us a line on itkmoonnight@gmail.com. We have a blog site, a website, which is intothenightpodcast.wordpress.com. That has all our episode summaries, all our newsletters. It's all there for you to check out. We have a Facebook page at facebook.com/ITKMoonKnight. We have a group, which we mentioned. I think we've surpassed 700, Connor. So things are really great. It's been a really great year for Into the Night. Can't wait to, maybe spend some time reflecting on the year that has passed as Into the Night and for our Facebook group, but we'll get to that, towards the end of the year. Twitter handle @ITKMoonKnight, of course, and we have Instagram, Tumblr, YouTube. Just search for Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. Finally, iTunes ratings. If you could please leave a review, preferably 5 stars if possible. If you like what you hear, that will be very much appreciated. It will help us kind of really cast a larger net out there in the podcasting world, or the huge ocean of podcasts at the moment, and it just helps other loonies find us, and we want to kind of bring all the Moon Knight fans together and steel ourselves and just celebrate a fantastic character. And finally, we're on all good podcast catchers, so however you're listening to us now, we're also on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, all that sort of jazz. So just tell your friends, tell anyone, tell your work colleagues, just to give us a go. We're good for train rides, long drives, and in the gym, perhaps. I don't know. So, Khonshu, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed reviewing issue 5. It has been a humdinger. And again, Josh Johnson, issue 51. Episode 51, sorry. Check that out as well. We discussed it as well. We can't get enough of this issue. But yeah, Connor, did you enjoy it?
Yep, loved it.
Fantastic.
In a way, how could you not? But I guess you could also. It was fantastic.
It was fantastic. Absolutely. Well, Loonies, take care of yourself. Have another good week ahead of you. And as always, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.
Bye.
copyright and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.